Well, I took care of both Halloween and the Black Fridays. It's high time I do the Christmas episode. Similar to the Dead Mall episode, the episode begins with a newscast about the possibility that Greenpoint might be in store for a blizzard. This is actually a bit of a cause for concern, though, as it may surprise you to learn, many people who live in southern states like North Carolina, where Greenpoint is, love snow. But ironically, because it happens so rarely, they have absolutely no idea how to handle it. So, at best, the news can only advise the barest of essentials, like stocking up on supplies and avoiding the dangerous grip of black ice. Also, of course, if things really go pear-shaped, make sure none of the people who are supposed to be in charge try fleeing to Cancun. But of course, who would be dumb enough to do that? Starting the actual plot, we find the Harts and Wayne at the house decorating. Presumably, Wayne doesn't bother decorating his place. All the Harts are having a grand old time setting up for Christmas, which is somewhat stifled by Betty equating their tree and lights with a tree from Charlie Brown.
Mother! Go outside.
The next day, she and Jenny are having a conversation about why when Betty says these things, it's trying to advocate for a Christmas they can't afford, which is only going to bum Violet out.
Well, you can try and wrap your hugs and put them under the tree or some crap, but Jenny, we both know that little girl isn't going to love you properly unless you bust her stocking with some fancy gifts.
Come to think of it, why doesn't Betty get a job? She's only 56, at least 8 years below retirement age. She doesn't exactly need to be a stay-at-home mom. Her daughter's an adult woman. At the very least, then she wouldn't have to rely on a payoff from a defective bladder mesh lawsuit. Later that day, at the Last Supper, Jenny and Brenda are wiping the popcorn shrimp bar when Louise comes to them with what they're hoping is their Christmas bonus, only to open the envelope to reveal an invite to a party she's throwing.
It's mandatory.
Because of course it is. Later that night, Jesus comes out of his mural to talk with Jenny, and oh right, Jesus was Jewish. Anyway, Jesus pretty quickly puts together that the primary reason Jenny isn't looking forward to Louise's party is out of jealousy for making her Christmas look super lame in comparison. Jesus gets it as he's familiar with being jealous of another person, which Jenny for some reason thinks was Chris Angel.
I'm talking about Santa, swooping in on my birthday, handing out gifts like some cool weekend dad.
Following Jenny's return home, she and Violet catch Betty in the middle of trying to figure out ways to get money fast.
Graham? Are you okay? You were mumbling treason to yourself again.
This only raises questions of how many times treason has been an option in her life. Meanwhile, the news is continuing their coverage on the winter storm to reveal that the local grocery is practically empty, the only bread left being the kind for people with diabetes.
My doctor's been telling me to eat that for years, but I would rather starve to death under 10 feet of ice, May-Kay.
Now with the Harts on the road to Louise's house, finding her party to be just as ostentatious as Jenny thought it would.
Dang, all that's missing is the Polar Express.
Entering the house to be greeted by Louise, she informs the Harts that in addition to the biggest, littlest town Violet has ever seen, the party also has a local celebrity stopping by, Ian David Cole, to recite The Night Before Christmas, and who, as we later learn, is voiced by Chris Parnell.
Delightful.
Jenny, having pretty much planned to stay as long as it would take for Louise to know they came, quickly urges the family to leave. The problem is that the snowstorm the news was talking about finally starts, and pretty much every driver on the road starts panicking, causing a 14-car pileup in front of Louise's house. After returning from a commercial break, the news returns to report that said aforementioned pileup has progressed to an accident so bad that the mayor didn't show up to try and survey the damage, he was also in it, having already tried to get hold of a salt truck company in Kentucky, which is to say the mayor will be no help in this endeavor.
I'm pinned!
Big.
Back at the party, it appears that Brenda is already trying to make up for what she lost with no bonus by reappropriating some of the food. So, she and Jenny get going with Plan B. Get drunk, go anger snooping. Meanwhile, Violet is making her own fun.
Oh God, it's shooting me with a freeze ray! Oh, all my limbs are coming off!
Violet, please stop acting out Yuletide-themed alien invasion scenarios in front of the children. Around that time, Louise returns back to the foyer to announce that because of the weather, Ian David Cole won't be showing up, only for Ian to reveal that he was already at the party the whole time.
Life is a stage, and the stage is my life.
A little while later, taking a shine to Wayne, who he encourages to try acting. During this, after smelling cigars, Betty finds Louise's husband Daniel's poker game. If you've been watching these, you've probably already seen him a couple times. Pretending to be a doddering old lady, Betty begins her plan to scam these fools out of everything.
I have no idea how I'm winning all these. What are they called, chip?
At the same time, while rifling through their things, Jenny finds Louise crying in her closet. Yet, turns out the fact that he'd rather play poker with his dirtbag buddies wasn't a big enough clue. Daniel has been ducking Louise all night. She's also jealous of the fact that Wayne actually likes being around Jenny, and most of the guests are Daniel's friends and their families, so Louise made it mandatory for Jenny and Brenda to come so she would have some friends at the party.
Now can you pet my head like my Gramby used to?
Following that very weird boss-subordinate interaction, Jenny declares that Louise should find Daniel and confront him, possibly cuss him out. Unfortunately, she momentarily forgot that if Louise did that, she would actually be causing a massive scene. Meanwhile, Violet's interactions with the little town has only gotten weirder.
The cannibalism. Well, that started almost immediately.
Please stop acting out cannibalistic post-apocalypse at Christmas in front of the children. But back to the main situation, it doesn't actually take long for Louise to find Daniel, because Betty is so much of an undisputed card shark that Daniel tried to flee the room bumping into his wife, and trying to get out of paying Betty, kisses Louise as a distraction.
Smooching won't get you out of this.
Yeah, I'm not super sure why he thought this would be a valid distraction. Following that, in an attempt to make herself look good, Louise gives Jenny and Brenda their holiday bonuses in front of everyone. Anyway, since Ian used Wayne being able to remember the lyrics of his favorite song as an example of how Wayne could remember lines, Wayne bookends the night by singing "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." After returning home, the Harts had their own little party. Also, having thoroughly taken Daniel's friend to the cleaners, Betty presents all the things Daniel had to give her as payback.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I love you guys.